All right, so is Todd Monken coming back to Georgia or not? It's Friday the 27th of January, and it's looking more and more as time goes on that Todd Monken will return to Georgia. Um, Nothing is ever certain or set in these situations, but when you take a look at the movement of two things. First of all, Todd Monken's not left yet. I mean, that's a pretty important thing. In the time that I talked with him during the media sessions before the Peach Bowl as well as the national championship game, it didn't. He was certainly not putting out a vibe that he was eager to leave. Of course, guys are never putting that vibe out, it seems, but in this case, it just didn't seem that way at all to me. Um, Secondly, and more importantly, um, Todd Monken is out on the recruiting trail, and that is a very important part of projecting a future and looking at trajectories and so forth. I mean, uh, certainly James Coley was not on the recruiting trail when he was moved out of the way to make place for Todd Monken at the end of the 19 season. I do not recall um, Jim Chaney being out and about, and the indicators are that Todd Monken will return at Georgia. Now, is that a certainty? No. And the reason why it's not is we just don't know what we don't know. College may be settled, but the NFL is still out there, and there are several head coaching spots that have yet to be filled in the NFL, and there's a chain reaction from that point forward. Now, we talked about the Buccaneers having interest in Todd Monken. I don't know where that would be a logical landing spot for him. He's been there before. The head coach that replaced the head coach that Todd worked for in Tampa is still around. I don't know that that matters necessarily, but um, I think the problem with Tampa, very specifically, the problem with Tampa is it looks like there's a lot of movement in Tampa that's coming in the near future. You do not have Tom Brady certainly coming back. You're replacing obviously at least a coordinator and the former Marshall quarterback whose name escapes me all of a sudden. Uh, and you've got a head coach there, frankly, that did not have a season that Tampa had been used to. So Byron Leftwich is the offensive coordinator that was at Marshall. He's an outstanding college football player, but that's where I think when you're looking at things for Georgia, the breadcrumbs look much more like Todd will return to Georgia as of right now. If he were to leave already, he'd be gone. In terms of high profile college jobs that are out and about, you've got the Alabama offensive coordinator position that is open. Um, I'm not sure there's other programs on Georgia's level. Okay, Texas A&M would pay a lot of money, but that position's been filled by Bobby Petrino. So um, there's not a lot of spots. Well, Miami came open today, but I don't see that happening. I think the thing with Todd at Georgia is he doesn't have to do tons of recruiting, and so that's the main difference between the NFL and college is how much time you have to spend uh, cultivating relationships with players, and that really is the hard part. Make sure you're picking up double dogs today. We've got a lot. Actually, the Ohio State story in here leads with what Todd Monken was doing just after Georgia's win over Ohio State in Atlanta. Today is one of the last days you can get confetti if you're purchasing dog struction. A lot of people are purchasing both. If you've not seen dog struction before, I know we get a lot of new users on YouTube specifically every single day. If you've not seen Double Dogs, I would encourage you to check it out below. It and Dog Struction are 80-page books that I've written over the last couple of years that go inside um, the story of Georgia's national championship seasons. In this case, back-to-back national championship seasons. And Georgia was very fortunate to have Todd Monken in both of those instances because he was a key to getting the Dogs a national championship, and that's why so many people are eager for him to stick around. And another aspect of this is, you know, you've seen. I mean, obviously Georgia went from one defensive coordinator to another, didn't change the defense's production necessarily from 21 to 22, but the offensive coordinator has been the same since 2020. And if you were to lose a two-time national championship winning quarterback, that's tough. If you lose that and that's it, you return the center, you return the offensive coordinator, you return four of the five guys who started on the offensive line in the national championship game or in the college football playoffs. That's a pretty good template to start from. And I think, Todd has been a head coach at the college level at Southern Miss. He has been an exceptional offensive coordinator, whether you're talking about Oklahoma State or at Georgia or other places. At the NFL level, um, I don't know. I don't know. It might be that he wants a new challenge. It might be that he doesn't. It might be that the challenge could be how many of these national championships can we win at Georgia? He's the best offensive coordinator Georgia's ever had. Mike Beva was an exceptional one. Todd Monken has been better, more productive. I think that's pretty evident. Um, and Todd Monken has better players, but that matters too. And he's been one of the reasons why those guys are there. But I don't know when we'll know for certain that Monken is staying at Georgia. But in kicking it around with folks in and around the program this week, it seems like Monken will be back in 23 for another run in a national championship. That's what it seems like. That's what it feels like. And when I saw him going to Connecticut today to visit on a 2024 quarterback commitment to the Dogs, I mean, that shows me that, if it had just been Kirby, that would be one thing. If it had just been Kirby, I think then you'd wonder if Todd Monken's returning, in a sort of in a negative way, I guess you could say. Like it doesn't look like it, but with him going up there, that seems to me pretty good. It's not what guys say, and first of all, we've not heard from Kirby Smart since his since the national championship celebration at Sanford. The only thing that he's talked in the media about has been the tragedy inside the program, and he released a statement. We have not talked to Todd Monken since Los Angeles. So it really, actions speak louder than words all the time. And in this case, that's all we've got. We've got actions. We don't know that they've not really haven't been any words. So I think to me, the leading indicator is that Todd Monken will return. I find it hard to believe that he would travel with Kirby to see one of, if not the most important commit in the 2024 class. But you know, I've also done this for 20 plus years and have an understanding of I don't know what I don't know. I don't know who Todd Monken's been talking to and who he hasn't, but it is pretty clear that it looks like he'll be back. The question is if he returns, which seems more likely than not. If he returns, um, what structure will that be in terms of his contract? A year ago, Todd Monken got a 60% raise after winning the national championship. I mean, he moved from like 1.2 to $2 million, whatever it was. And I mean, my suspicion is that he will have the same sort of, you know, maybe not 60%, but a significant raise over time. Let me get well, I didn't link it in my story. That's pretty bad. Um, but sometimes I can be disappointed in myself. We can't always get it right, although we should in linking. But let's see. Yeah, it was a 60% raise uh, going from I guess 1.25 million. Is that right? Yeah, 1.25 million or so to $2 million, a $750,000 raise, 60% over what he had been previously making. And Kirby was talking about what Todd Monken brought to the table. I'm going to use this quote here at the end. We want to be explosive. We were last year. People talked about the defense. But the quote, but the in parentheses, the explosion on the offense got overshadowed by that. That we were a top 10 team in explosive passes, a lot better than a lot of teams at throwing the ball down the field. Hey, you got that right, Kirby. That's the damn truth. The other reality is when you look at the teams that are really challenging for the national championship and spots in the national championship, those teams are scoring points. Tennessee, number one in the country, 46 points a game. Ohio State, 44 points a game. SC, 41.4. And then at fourth, tied, Georgia and Alabama both at 41.4. Now, we know Alabama's going to switch coordinators and switch quarterbacks. There's going to likely be a regression there. That Alabama folks may say it'll get better. But it is notable that all four teams that were in the college football playoffs scored, they were top nine scoring offenses. Listen to these teams that were in the top 10, okay? Tennessee, Ohio State, SC, Alabama, and Georgia were tied. Michigan, UW, UCLA, TCU, and Oregon. 11th was Utah. I mean, you got some real firepower out there on the West Coast. They just don't play defense that great. That's why. By the way, let's just say this real quick too. That's why I think that UW and Oregon both have um, a crack at the future of the Pac-12 at even this coming season. I know SC and UCLA will leave soon, but even when they don't leave, before they leave, excuse me, it looks to me like Oregon and Utah being power teams can really prevent SC from getting to the playoff, just like happened this season. I mean, with with Utah stopping SC right at the final game of the season, but Todd Monken has meant a lot to Georgia. He picked the right quarterback for the two national championship seasons that Georgia won. He has been one of the best offensive coordinators that I've seen in the SEC in modern times. And I just remember, I'll leave you with this. I remember sitting in the Alabama press box in 2020 and noting remarkably how open Georgia receivers were in 2020 against Alabama. Georgia did not win that game, but everything was there. all of the all of the pieces were getting put into place for winning all but two of their remaining games that they played over the next 2.5 years, and a lot of that is due to Todd Monken.